Jake the Film Guy, Microbudgeter.com. In this video, we're going to talk about 4 different ways you're being manipulated.
Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring.
Numero uno. Back in the military, we talked about customs and courtesies. Simple things like when a higher ranking person came into the room, if you were sitting, you would stand up. Now, these kinds of ideas translate into the real world, the civilian world, the world that you and I live in, of showing respect to one another. One of the ways that somebody, a prospect, a client, somebody that is perhaps an unsold person in your sphere of influence, might be showing you some disrespect is they won't put the phone down. Now, you'll have to pardon me. I'm from Atlanta, so my English isn't so perfect. And I used to be a math teacher long before I was Jake the Film Guy. The point being here, what I'm trying to communicate to you is if they cannot put this device down, they might be disrespectful. Case in point, back in Vegas, I was having a meeting with somebody and they answered the phone not once, but twice and had talks with prospective buyers while I was having a meeting with them. When I told my wife later the story, I finally wisened up after the second one and left. When I told my wife that story, she said I would have left during the first one. Sometimes we get too much of this rose-colored glasses thing going on that we can't even see the forest for the trees. Don't be like that. If you sense that somebody's being disrespectful, get on out of there. Another time, I was trying to apply for a job with a certain team out of Nashville, Tennessee that is wholly devoted to getting people out of debt. This was a W-2 full-time video job. Now, the interviewer in the very first phone call answered the phone for somebody else. This was a phone interview and they answered the phone for somebody else. They put me on hold. Needless to say, I didn't end up working with that team. If you find that you are being bamboozled by a prospective client, a prospect, an unsold person that might join your team, might be a part of your short film, if they can't put the phone down during those early meetings, you might want to go the other direction. It's like in The Irishman, if you've seen that movie by Martin Scorsese, when Jimmy Hoffa meets with Tony Pro and Tony Pro shows up to the meeting in shorts. It's a lack of customs and courtesies. It's a lack of respect. Number 2, people ask you to do spec work. Now that can take many shapes and forms, meaning they ask you to do something for the sake of exposure, or perhaps they offer this carrot at the end of the stick saying, well, we're going to look at it and see about compensation after we've seen the work, or we will see about payment. We'll talk about what to pay you after we've seen the work. If somebody offers you that, even if you're brand new, I think it's a lack of respect. Don't take the job. Now, that's different from when you are brand new as a video producer, as a video hopeful, from taking free work 1 or 2 jobs before you start charging. That's different. Once you are further along the curve and somebody tries to offer you a job with that line, go the other direction. Had a gentleman that said that to me and I didn't end up working for him. Plain and simple as that. Had another lady in Vegas ask if I would come and help her nonprofit out. Flat out asked if I would just do the work for free. And at this point in my journey, I was way past free work, so I had to turn her down. And I just said, no thank you. You don't need to give a long, drawn-out excuse or reason. You can simply say, no thanks. That's all you need to say. Try it right now. No thanks. Numero 3. Your cheapest clients will always be your worst clients. So figure out what that threshold is, that X value that you will work for, and figures that are higher than that amount, but not less than that amount. Here's a clear example. My threshold is, at bare minimum at this point in time, $2,000. I will not work for any more clients where the job is less than $2,000. I've decided I'm far enough along in my curve that I don't want to work with the low-paying jobs. They tend to be the worst kinds of clients. When you are starting out, that's probably all you're going to get. But once you're further along, you figure out what your X value is and only do jobs greater than that amount. I had a person in Vegas. I was following up with him. I brought him a loaf of bread. I said, I'd love to do the work with you. I walked out in the parking lot with him as he was taking the trash to the curb, and he said it's out of his budget. And I said, you know what? It's okay. I pulled this out of Grant Cardone's playbook. It's okay. I'm a part of the Monday budget night meetings. We're all over budget. You can even come and give the first talk. It's okay to be over budget. Come on, let's do this job. He still wouldn't budge. He was fixed on X, and my Y was greater than his X. We never did work together. And that's what you have to do. It's okay to say no. You don't want to be taken advantage of. You don't want to be manipulated because somebody over here has the promise of a few bucks, but the few bucks is less than what you need to be working for. Figure out what that shelf is and don't compromise. Last but not least, another way that you might be taken advantage of is actually when you are the buyer rather than the seller as you build out your video production business. The old saying, if it seems too good to be true, it holds here. Here's an example. There was once this community that I was going to subscribe to. It was an online subscription, a e-class of sorts that was going to help me with marketing my video production service. They had lots of reviews, but all of the names were blurred out. It didn't sit well with me. So I did not go with that service. If that happens to you, if you find that there is some element missing in that process of deducing, is this a good fit for my video production service? Trust that gut instinct that God gave you. As always, as the Proverbs say, plans fail for a lack of counsel. If you find that you are at that crossroads and you need additional input, talk to your spouse, talk to your family members, talk to a business mentor who has been doing business longer than you. I promise you, it is okay when you're at that juncture to find additional input. Tell them X, Y, and Z. What do you think? And then heed their input. Take it into advisement. Another example of somebody that was trying to pull the wool over my eyes, or however that expression goes, trying to fleece me, was an Australian service. They were out in the outback, and this Australian service was a marketing package. They looked at my website. The first phone call was amazing. They were able to deduce that I already had the Facebook pixel on my website. They came ready to roll. They had some good ideas. They had done their homework. They seemed like a good fit. When I went through their customer testimonials, as you should too, I got some heat from the proprietor. Word got back from the customer testimonials to the proprietor that I was talking to the customers themselves. That person was miffed. Now, I can understand if it's a law firm, there might be certain elements where there's a legal issue at hand and you are not to talk to those clients. I get that. But when it comes to video production, when it comes to the auxiliary services that might complement you as a video producer, if those customer testimonials come back to the proprietor, the person that you are looking to engage and do business with, and that person gets upset, that should be a red flag. Run the other direction. Another time that happened to me, the proprietor wasn't as upset as one of the customer testimonials themselves. They wrote back a very nasty response. It wasn't directed at me. It wasn't that. It was lewd. That was a red flag. So if this happens to you, if you find that it's too good to be true, don't buy the service. Until next time, keep creating with the King. Keep partnering with the light of the world, the hope of the world, because the time is growing short. And honestly, if you've got even just a DSLR, that's more than some people on the other side of the world have. And I can promise you, there are people on the other side of the world that are cobbling together short films with broken cameras, broken iPhones, old laptops, hand-me-downs across the board. Creativity knows no limits. It's my favorite story of that person asking Stephen King, "What do you write with?" As if it was the instrument that he was writing with. It's Stephen King, the author. It's you. God gave you the unique vision. Now go partner with him in service of what he is doing with his kingdom and tell some stories of hope. Love you in the Lord. I'll see you in the next video.